Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Be Better podcast. And for those of you watching on the video, you might have noticed something. This is my first podcast without a beard. I shaved it off as a Christmas present to my daughter because she kept begging me to shave my beard off. And so I did it as a elf on the shelf Christmas Eve surprise. So there we go. But anyway, enough about my beard or lack of. Yeah, we'll pretty much get straight into the episode, I reckon. So with me today, we've finally managed to hunt down someone who I've been wanting to get on the podcast for ages. She's always like, "No, I'm too busy. I've got time for your podcast, Tim." Jokes. With me today, I have got the amazing Brooke from Sharesies. So, g'day, Brooke. How's it going?
Kia ora. Really good. How are you? Yay, here.
Oh, look, you are a pretty busy human. You've been through there's been quite a lot of business achievements that you've been going through the last couple of years or the last year or so, to be fair. So, I'll let you off the hook, and you're doing some good stuff. So, so for people who don't know who Brooke is and don't know what Sharesies is, give us the sort of the 30-second or couple of minutes overview as to what it's all about and who you are.
Yeah. Kia ora tātou, I whanau o te whenua o Ngāti Whātua, I te pumau o te whenua o Ngāti Rangi Huki, e noho ana o e te Taranaki Whānui, e mahi o ki Sharesies. So, yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Sharesies. I'm here based in Wellington, Te Whanganui-a-Tara, but grew up around Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, Tauranga, and a bit in the States. But yeah, I'm one of the co-founders and co-CEOs of Sharesies, and yeah, it's really fun. We're 8 years in and so much to do, but in a good way, to create financial empowerment for everyone. That is what really drives us.
Nice. So for people who don't know anything about Sharesies, so we do have a mainly Kiwi audience, but we do have a couple of people from around the world tuning in. What is Sharesies? What is it? What's the idea behind Sharesies?
Yeah, so the whole purpose of Sharesies is to create financial empowerment for everyone, and we essentially want to help through being at the heart of wealth. So how can we help people through our wealth app really actually grow wealth, through our business app really connecting businesses with their stakeholders, whether it be shareholders and making sure they're getting really good comms from those companies, to also staff share schemes. So we really want to see a future where more people, if you're working in a company, that you're getting shares in that company, so you're getting part of that value creation. And then also leveraging our technology, so partnering with others so they can leverage it, so they can also amplify more financial empowerment for everyone.
Nice. So you're doing a little bit then. You're doing, just
things. Yeah.
Just a couple of things to keep you off the street. I guess I first connected to Sharesies with around, I guess your original concept was around the helping more Kiwis get access to stock markets, essentially, like how to invest and buy shares and do that kind of stuff, which is, I guess, where the original name Sharesies came from, which I guess for a lot of people, the idea of buying stocks and shares is quite I guess unachievable. It's like I don't understand anything about this. I don't want to go and buy the Financial Times or some highfalutin newspaper and try and track stocks. Well, I guess do people even do that these days? I don't want to go online or use the little stock app on my Apple to know what it's like. It's quite a complicated thing, and it seems to be it's kind of rigged for people who really understand that concepts to do well in it. So that was kind of like what you were all about. Is that right?
Yeah, we started as an investment platform providing access to investment options, because essentially, really akin to what you're saying, is people didn't feel like they could develop wealth, that they could be an investor. And then if they were, they felt like the technology they were using was pretty archaic and wasn't really built around experiences that supports them, more around products and jargon hitting them. So we wanted to totally annihilate those barriers so more people could feel like they could invest, because we knew if we started with investing is the part of money where it's more growth orientated, where there's like you're thinking about the future and the opportunities you want, and once people start to see, I can, have access to this, and I am seeing how the economy, what's happening in the economy and companies, and how that impacts my investments, and maybe I want to change some of my money habits. And so it's a really great place to help people start and reframe around money, because a lot of people feel like they're doing it wrong or they don't know enough. But ultimately, we want to really help people feel that confidence and motivation, because at the heart of the best way of developing wealth really is through your habits, and that consistency paying off over time. Like those that go to the gym consistently, you don't get results overnight, but it does happen. And it's the same with financial health. It's like, it doesn't start growing completely, straight away, but it can over time. And having those right habits in place ultimately will enable more opportunities later in life. So we started with investing. We now got saving, KiwiSaver, which is our superannuation, insurance. We're in Australia, and there's heaps more to come.
Wow. I look back on my financial education at school, and it was pretty poor. The only advice I remember was from like one of the careers teachers saying, I remember us having a lesson on credit cards, and basically they were like, that credit cards, be wary, but they're a useful tool. If you use them and you pay them off in full each month, you can kind of bankroll, your life a little bit by. It's like, okay, but when you're kind of 16, you're like, I don't even know what you're on about. And then I remember getting my first credit card at university and thinking, wow, this is cool. They give me free money. I can just go and buy stuff. And like, this is amazing. And then you get the first bill and you go, oh no, so I actually do have to pay for it. So, I just think, and I don't know whether you're seeing, what generational splits you're seeing, but it's been, I just think, really badly taught. But I've been I've listened to a few podcasts. The Diary of the CEO, Doody guy. He's had a couple of investment experts, and listening to that and then explaining it to my 12-year-old daughter, and sort of saying, right, you've got $1,000 in your bank account. If you keep that in there and don't do anything with it until you're 60, and you keep maybe adding a little bit of money to it each year, you could actually have enough money to retire. If you commit to saving regularly as you earn, that you won't have to worry about, anything. And it's just so badly taught. So how did you get into this world? Like, was there a specific moment, or like what made you suddenly just go, I know, I'm going to sort of try and democratize the share market?
Yeah, I agree that there's such a lack there in terms of really supporting people build that capability. And there are others like Banker, who are a B Corp too, who are really trying to help in the school space. But there's a lot of work to do, I think, to really support people so that they can have better experiences with money. Like someone close to me had a very similar experience to you, but as soon as they turned 18, they're like, oh, sweet, if I just hand my laptop into this pay loan place right next to my school, they'll give me $50, and I just go back a few days later, get my laptop and give them $50 back. I was like, oh, okay. It doesn't actually work like that, and they were mortified to figure out it wasn't that simple, but it felt really easy. And so that, I think that there's a lot that we can be doing to make sure people can make really informed decisions. So it's a very common story, so don't feel isolated in that fact. Thanks heaps for sharing. So it's really important for other people to hear, the different ways people have dealt with money, but really keen to see more financial education and also learn by doing. So on Sharesies, we have around, or probably more than 50,000 under 16s, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
And the engagement with their guardian or parent or well-meaning adult, and having those conversations like you said with your daughter around investing and growing wealth is so important. And that key element of that, those compounding returns or compounding interest, that money can start making money, and the habit of putting money away every payday can really pay off in the long term, and the opportunities you can get in life and share with others.
Totally. Yeah. So she's got a co-op bank account, obviously, because in New Zealand the co-op bank is a B Corp, and so she has got like a spendy account and a savey account, and so any pocket money she earns or any Christmas or birthday presents, money she gets, she has to put at least half into the savings account. But she was getting really savvy, so when she looked at her statement, and she was like, so I didn't put any extra money into the savings account, but I've earned some money, which now means I've got more money in my account. It's like, yes, that's how it works. So what she ended up doing was then transferring all the money into the savings account, and then when she wanted to buy something, she transferred the exact amount she needed into the savings, into like the checking account, and then buy it. So she was it's like, man, you're totally onto it. It's like you're going to be so so much in a better financial position than me and her mum are, because we just didn't. No one kind of taught us this stuff, and it seems like there's probably maybe more access, but still not enough. But that's amazing. You've got 50,000 younger people getting into it. It's but yeah. So what was the moment that made you decide to do this? Like, was there a frustration that you'd seen, or one day like I know.
So look, I didn't grow up around investing, or it really was, if you own a home, that's that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's it, the secret to all success.
Inspiration. But I decided when I was at university to pick up finance. I felt like my degree was missing something like kind of analytical, and so I picked that up. And the first lesson you taught about the time value of money, like essentially the most valuable aspect of money is time. So the youth around are way more richer than we are because they've got their time on their side. And I then I worked at Kiwibank later on after finishing. I did a master's in finance and really got into it. And then I worked in banking. I really liked being at Kiwibank, another B Corp now, but it really felt purpose-driven when I was there too, when we were in growth mode about Kiwi helping Kiwi be better off. And we were creating new products, and it was really interesting. But also learned a lot of things there in terms of how the system could even be better set up for people. And then worked at Xero, where there was, I really learned about how to scale technology and how to scale it globally too. From another real purpose-driven company too. It felt like at the time that we were really doing something that was revolutionizing the way business owners' lives, essentially, and supporting accountants too on that journey. And then I was talking with 3 other of the founders about we're looking at starting a company, and then the 2 others, Sonia had come up with the initial kind of concept around shares. He's going, I wish I could invest $50. I wish I could do it regularly. I wish it could feel meaningful. And she had talked to her partner, Ben, who's a co-founder. It's like, you need to share that. We all got together in the end. But we put an application, put Sharesies, slapped Sharesies on the application to this incubator, and off we went 8 years ago.
Next minute.
But we did it. So cool. We've got this idea. Now we're just going to build it. We actually we talked to heaps of people, hundreds, going, what do you think about money? How does it make you feel? What do you think about investing? Oh, what about KiwiSaver? And so many people hadn't associated, I already am an investor if I've got KiwiSaver. And also felt all of those barriers like you shared earlier. And we're just and with the technology available today, there's no reason that people can't have the same money opportunities. And that's what we've set out to create ever since.
Nice. And so what were the backgrounds of the co-founders? What other skills did you have at the table?
Yeah, so many skills. But 2 were technical. One was designer, and then later Sonia and I were a real mix of business and finance and customer and marketing and product management and strategy. So it all came together quite well.
Sort of had the right ingredients.
Yes.
That's often what you hear in successful startups is you need to have that mix of the technical co-founder, the marketing, sales-led customer experience. So yeah, you sort of had that. Did it feel like a big risk at the time to did you all quit your day jobs and go into the accelerator, or was it like, okay, one of us will lead it and then the others can jump, if or when we get somewhere? What was that process like?
Yeah, after all those conversations with people, it felt riskier not doing it than doing it. Because it's like, now I know all of this and there's a massive problem or opportunity here. Like, we have to do something with that. I couldn't just like go, okay, cool, you know. But yeah, we really had to do something. So yeah, Layden, Sonia and I went full-time first, and then the other three came in not long after as things had to ramp up, but they were part-time anyway.
Yeah, so no sort of too tricky a moment, because sometimes you sort of, there's a bit of tension sometimes, and like, do I stick with my job? And you might have got parents, friends, partners, and other well-meaning people saying, "Oh, I don't know, it sounds risky. Oh, I'd maybe stay with the job if I was you. Are you working for a bank? It's nice, or zero. It's it's a nice regular income." So there was no real tension around that. You were just like straight into it.
Yeah, I can't recall that, but I think I'm quite fortunate with the way I was ultimately raised, where I don't think it never felt like there were expectations put on me.
Nice.
And I was always able to kind of trust my instincts. And I think my parents would always just like, if I'm not going to really hurt myself, just let me fall.
Yeah.
Like, it's up to me. I'm an adult now. I think I've always been treated. So I don't recall feeling that, but I have been asked that question before, and I'm not sure if the other founders felt that way or not. But it's not. Yeah, heard.
Nice. You had very good supportive parents. Yeah, one bit of parenting advice we were given, or I think I saw on the internet, was instead of saying to a kid, "Be careful," you tell them to think about it. So it's like, be careful engenders that mindset of, I shouldn't do it in case I get hurt. Whereas think about it is like, look, trying to do a triple backflip on your BMX on the first day you've got it, maybe just work out the angles, and like, have you got a release angle, and maybe put a crash mat down for the first one. It's like, okay, I've thought it through. I assess, I understand the risks and the benefits, and I'm going to give it a go, rather than be careful or don't. It's provides that limiting belief that I guess a lot of people suffer with still many into old age. So just, I guess, going back into like your upbringing. So were you, like always a disruptor? Were you always, looking to try and do good? Were you always doing like, litter picking in the street, or, working, doing selling chocolate bars for charities as a kid, or what kind of led you? Because, you've ultimately been part of quite a disruptive organization that is a B Corp. There's not many other companies doing what you're doing on a global scale, and also doing it as a business for good. So, what was young Brooke like? Was that?
I grew up in two different worlds. So I was like my mum's only child and the oldest of five on the other side, and I noticed the gap there was between these two worlds, and ultimately it was money and time. So there was a bit more time in this household and a bit more money with one child, so I could go to athletics or whatever it might be.
Oh, we just lost you a little bit there.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
There we go. You're back now. You just said you were part of two worlds, and then it went a bit crackly. Crazy.
And on this side, I was the only child, and this one, I'm the oldest of five. And on this side, there was a bit more time. Like I could go to athletics and things like that. And as the oldest of five, and my dad was a truck driver at the time, working like hectic hours, just trying to make ends meet. Then we had a bereavement in the family, and everything just got really hectic, and it was really, really difficult. And I just saw that money was at the heart of some of it, and I wanted to see how we could make. I always wanted to bridge that divide. So from supporting my brothers, and a lot of my thinking at that time was probably more insular to this whānau, this family unit. Like, how can I help some of my brothers and sisters get some of the opportunities? One of them lived with me for a bit while they were going to school. Another one, I've helped fund through school and was there for them. And I think that was always important to me. And that kind of feeling of how do we help make this more equitable, and so that was always quite a really important aspect of me. But I was also, I was always playing with business ideas. I did young enterprise at school. I really enjoyed that. I really loved just seeing the connection of people together, ideas, and creating community, and loved it. And I think that with Sharesies, I really came across the concept of social enterprise when I was at university, and then really knew that from the heart. That was, I honestly believe every business should be a force for good. It should be existing to help solve or support social or environmental opportunities, essentially. And that was just ingrained in how we wanted to start Sharesies.
Nice. So yeah, so it seems like you've just had that pattern of wanting to do right, be inclusive and help people from an early start. It's just really interesting interviewing B Corp leaders from all sorts of backgrounds and industries, and because for me, I very much had a key moment of epiphany. I was very much on a just it's all money and prestige. Working in a sort of high performance sales environment, it was just
Right.
get the best, and it's like no real connection to purpose and meaning. And then suddenly, earthquakes, birth of child, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute, I might be on the wrong path here. So it's just interesting. I think there's the two paths that I see is either I had some kind of early or midlife epiphany that I'm doing stuff wrong and I'm now going to turn to the light side, or there's just been a pattern of I've kind of been doing this stuff. And like I say, it's just for people who are listening who are maybe, could I do this B Corp thing? It's like, well, maybe look for some of the patterns. Maybe you've already had a history of doing good and you just, it's just what you do. Because I do find that with a lot of B Corps, they don't recognize the good that they're doing because it's so baked into just what they do and how they do it. And it's kind of like, when companies are starting the B Corp journey, it's like, oh, we had no idea that we were so good. And it's like, well, yeah, what you're doing is actually not very normal. There's no other companies doing what you do, and that should be celebrated. But yeah, people can become the fish in water when they don't recognize that that's just, because in your head, that's just how a business should be run. But not everyone thinks that way.
I think that's so accurate. When it's so aligned with your value, when you're starting a company, often your values are very aligned to why it exists. And so if it's just like, well, that's just how it should be. Yeah, I found that quite a bit too. And I was like, I found that too when people found out what I was doing for some of my brothers and sisters at the time. They would be like, whoa, I could never have done that. It's made me rethink my relationship with my sister and things like that. And I hated it. I was like, I'm not who told you? Like, I didn't tell it. Yeah, I didn't like people. I'm not doing it for them. I'm not doing it for their recognition or whatever. Yeah. I did like when that person said to change their relationship though. I was like, oh, actually, there is something in people knowing this because that is important, But I didn't, it's not. And I think that is quite ingrained in a lot of people that lead this way. It's like, oh, we're not doing it to say we're doing it. Like, we're doing it because it's Tika.
It's the right thing to do. Yeah. And I think there is a real tension, I think, and we'll get to this a bit later on. But yeah, I think there's a real tension between people articulating a genuine story of something that's good and has done good for the benefit that will provide to someone else hearing that story versus some of the content that you see on LinkedIn. I stopped today at the petrol station. I saw a homeless person, so I decided to go out of my way and give them some money. It's like, yeah, really? Like, did you do that for the likes, or are you doing that because you're like, why are you telling me that you've done some good? And it's this fine line between authentically telling stories of good versus doing it for a perceived sales or marketing benefit, or wanting to have people say, "Oh, Brooke is such an amazing human. Go you." And I think it's a really fine line that no one's really cracked in terms of, telling a good story that can inspire and lead to more good, without it looking like you're looking for an insta like.
You're really impact when other people is telling the story.
I think that is what the big realization I've had. And in fact, I was working with a company on Tuesday, helping them with their B Corp journey. And that's pretty much what I said to them. It's like, if you're telling the story, it's not as impactful as someone else going, hey, these guys or girls, are actually doing the right thing. There was a really good quote I found the other day as well. Let me see if I can find it. Where did I put that? It was, please hold, callers and listeners. There we go. I gave a presentation at a conference the other day on the one thing that I just find, excuse me if you do these, but impact reports, like people create these 60-page impact reports, no one's reading them. Like no one in your own team is going to read it, let alone the people that you email. And there was a really good quote from Benjamin Franklin: either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. And I think that's kind of at the heart of like doing good, is people will tell your story of the good that you're doing if it's epic enough that they want to tell the story about it. And so it's kind of like keep pushing the envelope to do more good, so that people genuinely go, what they're doing is flipping amazing. So and so starting the company, you clearly like clear sense of purpose, clear sense of impact from day one. All the other co-founders were aligned with the idea of sort of social enterprise, social impact, purpose. There was no tension, no kind of like, but look, Brooke, actually, you know,
we only want to, it's definitely 100% alignment there. We sat down really early on and we talked about what type of company did we want to create? What do we want it to feel like? What did we want to, what experiences do we never want to have here that we've had in other areas? And we just asked each other a bunch of questions, jotted down all the bullet points, and out of that themed our values. And it was just so inherent, like from that conversation, but also from the first one, like we're only doing this to really drive an impact that we really hope will have a massive positive contribution from now for generations to come. And so it's deeply ingrained in why.
Nice. It's so refreshing, because you see so many companies, not maybe non-purpose driven, non-B Corp, but it's like, these are our values, and it's like, we just basically pay lip service to them and we do not adhere to any of them, and we just actually don't really care. We went through a marketing exercise to get some values to stick on the wall. I was talking to I had dinner with a mate of mine the other night who works in the medical industry, which is the industry I used to work in, and he's one of those rare beings who will sit in a senior management meeting and go, but hang on a minute, actually our values state that and we're not doing that. And then there's like a sharp intake of breath from the rest of the leadership team, and he's like, well, what, are we going to live by them or are we not? And so it's genuinely refreshing seeing that in the B Corp world, that so many of the B Corps have, they're built from day one around genuine, heartfelt values that are meaningful to the founders, to the owners, and you live by them. But in terms of scale, because obviously the business has scaled beyond just the four of you co-founders. So how have you maintained the values? How have you maintained that mission focus without compromising, or have there been tense moments as you've scaled?
We from the 6 founders to now, 180 of us across Aotearoa in Australia.
Wow.
Our intention was never for our values to be maintained, but more to be contributed to. And it's incredible, actually, the ways that people have contributed to our values of always care, in it together, and chase remarkable, and how it shows up every day. Like sometimes I'm just like absolutely blown away by the standard that people create within the way that they work together, and also the way that they support others. It's our customers or suppliers, however it might be. So it's really cool to see those, that I always look for cultural contribution. Never, it's not like we have to be like this, if that makes sense. So it's a tweak on the work, really important how we thought. But you're only here if you really care about creating financial empowerment for everyone, like that's deeply ingrained in our screening process, and that connection people have of wanting to unlock this world, but in a way that's based on experiences rather than product, I think is really important, financial services. So I think I'm really happy with how it's grown. There definitely are interesting times though when with new technologies and their opportunities, and how do we, what's our role in supporting those, or in a way that feels tech or in line with how we want to grow. I think there's so much opportunity in that space. It's really exciting too. So more to come.
Yeah, that's such a cool way of approaching it. It's kind of like everyone's bringing not just a piece of the jigsaw, but they're also extending the jigsaw.
Yeah,
maintaining that kind of core beliefs from the beginning, but making it kind of better as you go along, which is super cool. Because again, you quite often hear that's the tension as businesses for good scale. You bring on an investor or you bring on new leadership, and they're not quite aligned, but they're good at what they do. Or do we let them in even though they might dilute the value? It's so that's so cool to hear that you've the approach that you've taken to it, and B, that it's working, and that you haven't had to compromise or lose sight of that initial mindset and value set that you had. So when on the journey did B Corp pop up?
So I think I filled out the B impact assessment very early on, too early. We got to the point to submit it, and it's like, okay, so you need to have revenue for a year, or like we were pre-revenue. So I was like, okay, note to self, diarise to do it.
Set a reminder.
So a year later, got onto that, and then went through that process, which was rigorous, and I'm sure, I know it's gone through a massive journey since then, but I think we were finally accredited in April 2019, I think, and gone through a few certifications.
And so how big was the company? Do you remember when you first certified? April 2019 is when you first certified.
There must have been about 10 of us when I first filled it in, and potentially around, I feel like I got the number 22 or something in my head for when we got close.
The last one.
I have to check.
Cool. So next time round, it's what might be 200 plus. Who knows?
Probably close to 200.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to actually sort of track your journey of progression, because obviously, the way it typically works is the bigger your company, the more requirements there are around policies, procedures, a deeper level of documentation. So interesting to see how you kind of scale the business against the framework. And again, it's like small, nimble startup, purpose-driven, social enterprise mindset versus 200. That there's possibly more policy. I mean, have you found like an increase in policies, procedures, and stuff like that, or are you a pretty flat kind of like, hey, just go try stuff, don't hurt yourself, sort of mindset company still?
Well, we're highly regulated too.
There's that as well,
Australia and New Zealand. So we definitely have a lot of policies, compliance frameworks, obligations to meet on a daily basis. And we have internal tracking on that. So it's well ingrained within Sharesies to make sure people know the kind of guardrails to thrive within. So I often don't find, like with our last recertification, it wasn't about policies and stuff. It was more about, hey, here's the things we want to achieve before we before the recertification, in terms of better waste. One of them was working with our landlord to get better waste measurement in place, and other things like that, which we got to achieve, which was cool. And
nice. That's typically a real gnarly one, because particularly in the New Zealand context, most landlords just charge a fixed fee, which includes your rent, your power, your waste, your water, everything. And it's kind of like, could you unbundle that just for me on the one floor that we've got, or whatever it is? Like, no, not really. Okay. That's like the toughest conversation I think for most B Corps in New Zealand is, okay, we'll go and have a chat with the landlord, see what we get. Was there anything in particular that actually going back to your, I guess, your initial B Corp, was there anything, because you'd kind of obviously approached building the business as a business for good, purpose driven. Was there anything as you went through the assessment that you were kind of like, oh, we hadn't thought about that, or anything that you were like particularly surprised of?
I mean, when I first did it, and again, this was years ago, right? This was filling it out in 2018. It felt quite American. Like some of the questions, I was just like, oh, that's actually illegal here, So it was interesting that it was a question. I just remember thinking that. But one that really stands out is a whistleblower policy. Like I'd never thought about that at that size of the team. And I just was like, of course. So, got one of those now,
Yeah.
but I just never thought of that as a even thing. So that was a great thing about doing the impact assessment. It's free, and I believe it's still free, but you actually get to see a whole well-round, you get asked questions that give you a really well-rounded view of your company. So you can actually see your blind spots. Like, oh, I've never thought of that. Oh, I haven't thought about it that way. Maybe I should do something for that. Or actually that doesn't apply to me or my business. So that was actually really helpful, because when we're, setting up, we had thought quite holistically about Sharesies.
Yeah, totally. And that's, for me, that's still one of the big benefits of it is, you think you're good. Let's just go and have a double check, because there will always, without a doubt, there's always something that when people go through it, it's exactly what you just said. Oh, I've never thought about that before. But now that you've shown it to me, that's a really cool idea. I'm going to go and implement that. And I'm going to go and tell the team that we now have that. And this is why.
And one thing I've noticed, and you'd probably know a lot more about this given how much more you support B Corps, but my few friends who own businesses gone on to do that assessment later, they come to me and they're raving about their score, and I'm so chuffed for them, but I'm like, please just know that's going to come down quite significantly. And that kind of always it does. So if you are, I don't know if you found this, but if people are quite close to the 80, it's probably quite important to try and get, closer to 100 if you can, because when you go through the accreditation, there's different interpretations of questions or different, the audit process is pretty stringent. And often you can come down 20 or more points. So just so people are aware of that, because I've tried to coach my friends like, we're great. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then and they're still great,
Yeah. Just not quite as great as we thought we were.
And that's just, you got to ride that wave,
Yeah. I often say my job is more like a defense counsel than a sustainability or business for good consultant, because it's mainly people going, oh no, we do that, and I'm like, you don't. That's not you've got completely the wrong end of the stick, and I know someone who's tried that before and they got turned down. So sure, look, if you want to give it a go, you can give it a go, but in my opinion, you're going to waste your time and you're going to lose those points. But equally, there's other times where people are like, oh, I don't think we're doing that. I'm like, no, trust me, I've got 10 companies off the top of my head that I can tell you have got the points for exactly what you're doing. So tick that, lock it in. You're going to be fine. Yeah, it's funny how the sort of the points fever can consume some people. It's like these. Normally, it's like the mild-mannered operations manager or accountant person in a team, and suddenly, we're going to get that point. I'm going to make that policy myself. I'm going to track down that data. It's like, all right, calm down. You're going to be all right. You're going to get to 80. In terms of so anything stand out from the research journey? Was there anything in particular from your first one to your second one that you're like, hey, actually, that is a bit of a blind spot at a deeper level rather than just a policy or a procedure? Yeah, was there anything that you really wanted to work on between your first and second research?
I think when the biggest one we need to really help figure out is on we're judged as a financial kind of an advice category, but we aren't advisors. So it does mark us down a lot on the customer side, because we can't provide some of the kind of advice questions that it's asking us. And but ultimately I'd love to be able to tick some of those boxes, but not for ticking the boxes, but because of what they represent in terms of. So that's something that we're always looking at. I'd love for there to be more ESG specific data in our app, but we just really haven't found the data that we can kind of trust and it can work well. So that is stuff that I would like to see at some stage. We just got to make sure what we put in there, that people, if they're making decisions off it, that it is correct or has some very good disclosures around it, so people are really aware. It can change on a dime. There was this time in terms of how a company can behave, and then therefore what that means for its score as a potential investment or and within a fund too. So that's why it's really great that we've partnered with other B Corps like Pathfinder, where they do a lot of that hard work, and then we get to provide access to their funds through our KiwiSaver scheme, but also a managed fund on our Sharesies platform too. So that's some ways that we provide those kind of choices also. And
Nice.
Taipua also is a cool one that invests based on like Māori Indigenous kind of principal philosophies.
Yeah. Is any insights on general trends in investing? Because I mean, the broad data and information that I have seen and have found is that increasingly the investment community in general, and that's mainly thinking, I guess, about sort of private equity funds, banks. There's been a move in that industry. I know within the New Zealand context, most of the domestic banks here are kind of going through their loan book, and the companies that are involved in existentially risky industries such as extractive industries or industries that have had labor violations and what have you, they're kind of saying, hey, sorry, we can't give you money anymore. General trends around purpose-driven business for good, sustainability and investment, anything that you're seeing there?
I mean, there's so many statistics, examples that show, investing in businesses that have great diversity practices and, that is great for businesses' performance. So there's, myriad of research from here, but also around the world. There is this kind of, it does seem that some people are wearing, I heard this quote, like, your values are really only your values when they've been challenged. And it is seeming like there's a bit of a wave at the moment where companies are just like dropping all of the things that they were trying to stand for to recruit people, I guess, and be seen in a certain way. But when there's a change in kind of governmental direction, they're happy to change at a whim. And I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to play out over the next couple of months. We started to see it with remote working and flexibility, and and then the real pullback to got to be in the office, and starting to see it in other ways with diversity and inclusion programs that other companies have implemented and are retracting from. So I think this is a really, if you look at it, kind of, it's really sad and horrific. And then for businesses that really believe in those values, it's also an opportune time to shine, because statistically you're going to outperform over time anyway when you are doing good. So I think, I'm intrigued to see the trends in that space. And but ultimately, I think that the more companies that act like B Corps or act that way, really live their values no matter the external environment, I think ultimately will outperform in the long run.
Yeah. And do you get granularity in terms of the data of where individuals are investing on your platform? Like, are they leaning more towards purpose-driven businesses and what have you?
Yeah, there's a real mix. I think a lot of people like to go to exchange traded funds, so they're investing in a bunch of companies. So some people really like to go for, invest in the US top 500 or NZ top 50 or Australian top 200 to invest in to help with their diversification and typically lower cost. But then there are some that are like, actually, I am really willing to pay for active management so that I know that the companies that I'm investing in are meeting a certain bar, such as, like what Pathfinder and others are doing, or specific ETFs that have themes like women founders or whatever it might be. So I think that there is there is definitely a demand there, but holistically it is for those kind of exchange traded funds at the moment.
Interesting. And so you also, obviously not that long ago, actually one thing I was going to say, the sticking to your values, there's a really cool quote. This gentleman's name, James W. Frick. He was the former vice president for public relations and alumni affairs at the University of Notre Dame in the US. And he's got a great quote: "Don't tell me where your priorities are, show me where you spend your money and I'll tell you what they are." And I think that's for me, that is like, our values on the wall are over here, and then, oh no, look at us over here supporting these suppliers and customers, and this is where we spend our money. It's like that the disconnect is so massive for, I think the general mass of organizations that are out there. But yeah, businesses that are genuinely committed to doing good will stick to their values, regardless. Unless there's like,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
There you go. Right,
my view is, in this world, and I'm pretty sure when my conversations with B Lab, it's very aligned. We need to call in rather than just call out. So if you see
totally.
a company, getting in there, being their supplier to start with, if they like you as a B Corp and they're on a sustainability journey, like mark in and help them. We
100%.
can really get better together, and there's definitely room for shareholder activism in time too, and now. But I personally like the the call-in kind of element, and helping others through that transformation if we're the right people to do it, or putting them in touch with the people that are. But that's ultimately like. Businesses know that a lot of businesses know they need to transform, or a lot of them know that they need to change the environment in which they work, and who they partner with. And so, I personally have always kind of taken that approach.
Yeah, 100% agree. A mate of mine, Natalie Horman, she dropped a sort of a concept on to me probably about 5 or 6 years ago. She said, you can't influence someone that you're judging. And I think that's such a powerful statement, because if you're looking at someone going, well, how dare you be like this, and how dare you behave like that, it's like you can't affect any change there. So yeah, and for me, I've not always, but I went through, I think when I first connected to the idea of business for good, and understood the real impacts that business just chasing profit at all costs has on people and planet, I was quite angry, and I think there's quite a few people who are still angry and want to change the world, but people don't connect with that. And so I always say it's about us having the best party on the street, and a good party has good music, good food, some nice sawmill beers, and we're just generally having a great old time. And we are saying, like, yeah, come join the party. There's plenty of food and there's plenty of booze. Like, it's gonna be a great time. Like, everyone's welcome. As opposed to like, you can't come to my party because you didn't invite me to your party last time. Like, that sort of toddler mentality of, you can't come play at my party. And yeah, I just think, yeah, like you said, extend the hands. Hey, look, we think you can be a part of this movement, or if you're willing to at least come and learn and not judge, what we're doing, and we're not judging what you're doing. Let's just put the business case out there and see how it stacks up for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So not that long ago, well, how long ago was it? You guys acquired Orchestra,
yes.
Who were all about, I guess, making it, well, from what I understood, all about it making it easier for companies to set up employee ownership schemes. From information that I've seen from the B Corp community, worker-owned companies outperform their non-worker-owned peers. So what info or data or insights have you, or whether you're close enough to the team that is Orchestra, like what would be the argument or the compelling reasons for companies to actually think about giving their team skin in the game when it comes to ownership?
Yeah, I mean, we were using Orchestra to manage our shareholders and staff share scheme, and so it was always like a no-brainer to us. We're like, oh, this is this is always going to be part of something that we wanted to support even more. So it was really great to team up with them and now have them within Sharesies business and helping more and more businesses with being able to offer that. So we've got about 600 or so businesses across Australia and New Zealand at the moment we partner with, listed and unlisted. And really the value of having staff share schemes for remuneration is really having that alignment of staff-holder, shareholder, staff and shareholder, staff-holder in a way, aligning your stakeholders is so effective for business growth, I believe. So that's one from a like business strategy and growth perspective. When things are aligned and you've got and you're all marching to the same beat, or or that you're in the same waka, rowing in the same direction, you'll ultimately go further faster and deliver your impact faster. So I think at a meta strategic level, it makes sense. From a loyalty perspective, that if your staff are shareholders too, they're way more likely to be loyal and actually give you their real honest insights. They genuinely want the company to do well anyway. But with that ownership, they feel like, oh, I'm an owner in this, like my opinion matters. And I can help shape the future of this company and really, and that really does drive loyalty to know that value is seen on the other side. And then at a holistic level, don't you want to see more people be more financially empowered and have access to the wealth that they're ultimately creating in that company? And I think that is so beautiful. I thought about my Mainfreight do some share schemes, but when I believe they do, but when I was when I was younger, my dad worked for them for 20, odd years, and I had this thought experiment, like, what if on his 20th year he was gifted $10,000 worth of shares, just like, hey, thanks for your heaps of contribution, here's 10,000. That 10,000 would be worth nearly $500,000 now. $500,000, like just from that access to those opportunities, and I think that you just never know. Like, yes, some might go up in value, some might not, some might take some more time, but ultimately that you can really create life-changing experiences for people. And they know that they're getting a share of what they're contributing in the world.
Yeah, I think it's it's interesting. I mean, it's 600 with you guys. It would be. Do you have an idea of like what percentage of businesses offer share ownership or ESOP schemes, like within the region or globally? Like, is there a rough ballpark figure that you've got?
I actually do, but the number escapes my head, and the one that isn't it, I don't trust right now. So I'd have to come back to you.
That's all right. Because I mean, I know I look back on my working career. I've had 2 jobs where I was offered shares. One was a medical device startup, because it was a young startup, that I guess they had the ability to offer some shares. Actually, because the other one I invested in Etique when they were a startup. That doesn't count because I wasn't an employee. And then there was another company I did some contract work for about 12 months, and they said, look, we can't pay you the rate that we would want to pay you, but we're happy to do a mix between shares and cash. And I was like, sure. And those shares now, current value, are worth quite a bit of money. And so it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. Like I say, there's the possible gamble. Obviously, any investment, I guess you have to say that all the time, any investments carry risk, blah, blah, blah. Whatever your investor spiel is, you have to give to people. But even if you don't actualize it, it's something that possibly your kids or whoever you bequeath your estate to might actually get the benefit of further down the line. And I think that for me is the real key, or one of the real challenges with the sort of money world is that accumulation of assets really leads to wealth. Not you could have a really good job and be paid really well, but you could still really not have much in terms of assets that appreciate. And so having something that you can build a platform on to then do more with, or do good with, or help your friends and family, that is a really key thing. And I think, again, it comes back to that financial education. People don't necessarily, if you don't know that there's this thing called ESOP or employee ownership scheme, you don't know. And I think I'd be interested, well, whether would most employees know that there are companies that provide that, or is it a bit of a? I mean, like I say, I was introduced to it probably mid in my career, when there's companies like, hey, we have an employee ownership scheme. And I was like, well, how does that work? I've got no idea what that means. But I don't think many employees are walking around going, I might go and knock on the CEO's door and suggest that we have an employee ownership scheme established.
Yeah, I didn't really become aware of it, I don't think, until closer to when I was joining Xero as the first, but maybe that was because it was becoming more real. So maybe I was like, oh yeah, some people get shares and, but I think that is when I was, got a contract and had shares in it. And I was like, how does this work?
Yeah.
How cool. And
can I make decisions? Do I get to fire people and hire people?
No, this one was like, oh, that's so cool that like it's a different feel of value, and that remuneration package was, really, really cool to have that included, and ultimately helped us start Sharesies in the end too, which is cool.
Nice. Sort of vicarious investor in Sharesies without them, whether they know it or not. I think it's a really interesting area that companies can explore. Which possibly they're not exploring. So maybe if that's the one thing that people get from this conversation is if you're a business owner and maybe you're not ready for the B Corp journey, but maybe you could at least think about what would some employee ownership options look like for the team.
Some people start with their exceptional performers or their leaders to however, but really do also
test the water.
Board schemes,
no, that's super cool. So plans for the future. So when are you due your next B Corp? So you did 2019 to be 2019.
So this year is the next research.
So coming this year. So clock's ticking.
That's good.
Feeling confident?
I think we, through between each one, we have, quite a lot of concerted effort. So always
nice.
Excited to see what we learn through the process too.
Yeah, nice one. And so you mentioned before we started recording, there's some interesting stuff coming. Are you at liberty to talk about any of the exciting things? Or are they all top secret squirrel stuff? So so what's coming down the line to fill up your Wednesdays and Thursdays? Because clearly Mondays and Tuesdays is all you're working at the minute to have Sharesies and employee ownership schemes running.
Yeah, I mean, for us, creating a wealth that actually grows people's wealth is at the heart of a lot of what we're doing at the moment. So we'll have, people have little pink MasterCard debit cards this year if all goes to plan, or, PayWave, and really excited about that because it's a function of how, if we can help people allocate their money in the most meaningful ways for them, I really ultimately want to enable them to actually grow wealth and for themselves and for the opportunities they want to have in life. So there's heaps we can be doing that off the back of how these offerings come together to really support people's financial lives. And so super excited for those. I can't wait to have it myself.
Nice.
Yeah, and then there's a lot happening in Australia. There's more. We're working on creating our own funds at the moment, which is really exciting for our KiwiSaver scheme. And just like there's heaps of just really getting in the community too this year, which is exciting.
Nice. So the debit card is going to be like a Visa, MasterCard debit card type thing. Yeah. And then what, like, kind of
to a transaction account, not to your investing.
Yeah. And any special things in it, like rounding up to invest and stuff like that, I'm guessing, or
we'll leave all those sweet secrets, but until we're closer. But we'll definitely, we don't plan to just do, we plan to
just have a card
experiences and make sure they're remarkable. So there's some really cool opportunities in that space. Yeah.
Nice. So when's that hopefully hitting the streets?
Later this year, which would be cool.
Nice. Well, this podcast probably won't go out till later this year. So when this podcast is out, you might already be listening. You might be buying some lollies with your Sharesies card whilst you're listening to the podcast. If that is you, write in and let us know. And I don't know, we'll send you another bag of lollies. So it sounds like it's all going on, which is super cool. Yeah, I mean, the one last sort of question, because like I say, we sort of mentioned it earlier on, talking about, how do you authentically tell the stories of the good that you're doing? Well, ideally, you get other people to tell those stories. But is there anything that you and your amazing marketing team, like, is there anything that you do, or any tips or tricks that you've got for people who are kind of working out how do we just tell better stories about the good that we're doing and without looking like smug gits?
Interesting, eh? I think it's all about the intent and purpose. So like if you're like, hey, we noticed this thing, so we decided to do this thing, or we're doing these things and actually is that normal? Like engaging the people around you, like, is that, do you do that? Or, there's ways that you can kind of weave it back to the purpose or the intent. And genuinely, I think we should be less whakama. Like people do want to hear these stories and they do want to look for inspiration. That's why podcasts like this exist. There's heaps of podcasts, because people are actually really hungry to learn and learn from each other. And I think we need to get better culturally at sharing what's going really well, like for us too, because along with the asking for help in the hard times or the challenges too, and sharing those vulnerabilities, I think we kind of like culturally like quick to talk about, but actually this happened, and it's really cool to see that these values that we care about are having an impact. Like, and we were really inspired by this who had similar things, or we can't wait for now this thing to happen. So I guess there are ways that you can feel pride and share your stories in a way that is authentic, and ultimately people do pick up on it. They know the intent and what it's driven from.
No, I agree. I think there's enough doom and gloom and woe is me and the world's going to end, out there, that having these little glimpses of look, that might be true, but there's a little flower breaking through the crack in the concrete here, and it's doing some good things.
So anytime, like personally, when I do a LinkedIn post, I'm like, I'm like, and then some people are like, hey, I read that and I thought about doing this differently, or hey, it's so cool to see that there are leaders that actually are valuing that time they have with their kids and things like that, and role modeling. That's really important for other founders who feel like they have to be seen a certain way, or that we do have 6 founders, and we're not just 2 dudes in a garage, which we kept told to be when we started, and actually that is working well. So amplifying those stories are important too, but it is even better when other people recognize that and share it, for sure.
100%. I think it's interesting because you typically are more likely to hear of the comments of but you don't do this, or you didn't do that, or you are not perfect. It's not very often that someone will actually go out of their way to say, hey, actually what you've done is quite inspiring and good. And like I really try and make it, like I had lunch yesterday in Auckland with actually one of the team from Pathfinder. We were just having a catch up, and like the waitress she was pretty amusing. She went to the same university that I did. She went to Cardiff Uni, but like 20 years after I went there. So we're having quite a bit of banter and some jokes. Like, was so and so there when you were at uni? On the way I was just like, hey, can I just say that your waitress she was really good value? Sometimes actually just saying something good about someone, or hey, actually you have inspired me. It goes a long way to keep someone keep you going. Okay, actually I am doing something worthwhile and good. But if we're all kind of just saying a little, hey, thanks, like you're doing really well there, and I appreciate that, and you've inspired me, or you've changed how I think about something. Like, please let people know that, because half the time we don't know. Like people like you and me, like we're just doing what we think's the right thing, and I don't know, like we're doing the best that we can, but.
Exactly.
Every now and then, just to have like, hey, actually, that was pretty cool. Thank you. That goes a long, long way.
I think you picked up on something there too, because I remember when I was first applying and going through the B Corp process, like if there are things where, we weren't as marked as highly as I thought, I was hoping we would be, or whatever it might be, I like felt it quite badly. Like I really wanted Sharesies to be perfect or something. And then I realized like, there's actually no such thing as perfect. And the bar's going to continue to rise, because the rising tide floats all boat. As more of us have these standards, the standards get higher, which I absolutely love. And so it's actually about the intention, obviously meeting a minimum standard, but then that you're constantly going to be improving from there, and that 100%. Learning and action mindset.
100%. Like no one's perfect, and for me that's what I call my the B Corp program that I put people through. We call it Be Better. Use the B Corp framework to be a better company than you were yesterday. it's not about being perfect. That you will not be perfect. And I always like to talk about, there's stuff that we're all doing today that we think is good, but in 50 years' time, we'll look back and go, I can't believe that they actually thought that was the right thing to do, because we've now got new evidence. Like the best example of that was the guy who invented the plastic. The guy who invented the plastic bag in the 50s and 60s. He took a waste byproduct from the plastic industry and made what he thought was an indestructible lifetime bag. And the reason he did that was because he was aghast at how many trees were being cut down to make paper bags. But now you go, oh, paper, plastic bags, oh, terrible, awful, worst thing in the world ever. Well, the guy who invented it did it from a place of purpose and impact and trying to do good for the world. So, even the good that we're doing today, we might look back on it 50 years and go, yeah, we could have done better. But we shouldn't let any of that stop us from trying to do as much good as we can with the information that we've got. And so, yeah. And that's where, companies and people like you are leading that way. So thank you for doing what you do.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And here's to my
no worries. It's been awesome to have a chat. Yeah, and learn a bit more about all the amazing stuff you're up to. So yeah, watch this space for 2025 for all the stuff that Sharesies are coming out. So if people in Australia and New Zealand can get a Sharesies account. If people have not heard of Sharesies before and they're like, okay, I get it, I want to be into this share market kind of thing, where do they go to help themselves to that business?
Sharesies.com is a great place to start. You can contact us on that site too if you want. Really happy to help you on your journey.
Cool. And all the employee ownership stuff, all that's Sharesies.com as well. Yep. Fantastic. And other than that, just like I say, thank you for you were a fairly early B Corp, and in fact I remember when you guys certified, I was like, okay, this is so cool. Like that's a company that a lot of people have heard about. Like this is good shit. You were one of the decent size. Yeah, well, I think even back then though, you were like I think there was enough noise about what you were doing that it was like, wow, like these guys are doing B Corp. Like wow, this is cool. Like it's just adding, and I think also the fact that you touch on so many people, you're a really good company to have in the community, because your name is out there and you're doing good stuff, and hopefully people connect to B Corp through what you're doing and the good that you're up to. So yeah, keep on keeping on.
Cool. Thanks so much. Thanks, Tim. Catch you later.
Hey, no worries. Hey, so if you've been inspired by all the goodness at Sharesies and what Brooke and her amazing crew of people are up to, maybe you could look at if B Corp's something for you. As always, underneath the show notes here, there'll be a ton of links and resources. Go and check out the B Impact Assessment. I've got an ebook. Go and listen to a bunch of other podcasts. Go and maybe connect to a real life B Corp and see if this B Corp thing is for you. But other than that, until next time, we will say goodbye. See you later. Hey, it's Tim here, that B Corp bloke from Grow Good. If you want more content on purpose, B Corp, how to do more good in the world as an individual or a business, then you know the drill. Hit the like and subscribe. Check out some of our other videos. They're probably floating around here somewhere. You know how it works. Thank you so much. See you next time.